now to give a speech for the immortal memory about the man who is the reason why we're here tonight. So we should be very thankful, as he was a man who knew how to live life to the full, and therefore we should do likewise, which I hope you're all doing as well tonight. Burns was born in 1759. And he was a man of his time. And it's important, I think, to say that he was born after the Act of Union, 1707, which is important to all Scots this year, as there's going to be a vote about separation once again. The other very important thing, I think, and relevant to Burns's life, was that all Scots were educated. Be they rich or poor in the 18th century and the 17th century, they were all educated, and the state and the church provided income for teachers in every village. The whys and wherefores I don't think are so important, but what is important is that Scotland was the most educated country in the world, as a population as a whole. So Burns was born into this milieu of an educated society, which also printed vast numbers of books. And in fact, the publishing industry was Scotland's second largest industry in the 18th century, for much of the 18th century. This is what explains the diaspora. Many nations have had poor people who have had to leave their own country to go to other places in the world. Scotland has had many people having to leave their own country to seek their fortunes elsewhere, but no other country has provided people so highly valued wherever they have arrived. Burns didn't leave his own country. He made his entire life within Scotland. He was a man of letters, as many, and like almost all men of letters, could not live off his writing, and therefore had a series of different jobs throughout his life, including as an exciseman. Burns was part of a very important movement in Scotland through the middle of the 18th century, which was to look to the roots of what are real Scottish roots. This was a time when Scottish identity had been removed through the Act of Union with England. It had greatly improved the economy of Scotland. However, it also inspired the Scots to create, or not just create, but to look to what would be Scottishness. And the St. Andrew's Society of Sao Paulo, like many other St. Andrew's societies, to this day seek to maintain something that Burns and his contemporaries were doing, which were to lift up all that was Scots. So Burns wrote in the vernacular, which was English for most, and also in Scottish. The other important thing is that he was a brilliant man, and that he dominated all forms of written language. So poems, speeches, epigrams, epitaphs, and especially songs. And if we remember that singing is the oldest form of poetry, we think about the Iliad and the Odyssey. They were also made in meter to be accompanied by music. So, this evening in each of your tables there is a poem, one of Robert Burns's poems or songs. And if you look at them all, what I found fascinating about Robert Burns is the fact that he was able to talk about everything. Be it politics, be it love, be it the love of a good life, death, just about everything you can think of, nature. And we like to think, as modern people, that we live in different times, we are more sophisticated, we are different. And yet I think if we all look at the poems he wrote, they are just, they speak to us exactly as they spoke to his contemporaries. That is brilliant, and also teaches us that we shouldn't think we have evolved very much, because we haven't. And in fact, the last 100 years are but a speck in the 100,000 years of human history. Anyway, I thought I would just read one poem with you, Robert Burns, which I very much enjoy. It is The Winter of Life, and he wrote it in 1794. But lately seen in gladsome glee, the woods rejoice the day. Through gentle showers the laughing flowers in double pride were gay. But now our joys are fled, on winter blasts away. Yet maiden May in rich array again shall bring them out. But my white power nae kindly though shall melt the snows of age. My trunk of eld, but bust or bell, sinks in time's wintry rage. Oh, age has weary days, and nights a sleepless pain. Thou golden time, O youthful prime, why comes thou not again? And so now it gives me great pleasure to invite you to stand and raise your glasses to the memory of Robert Burns. The poet, Robert Burns.
Thank you very much, Jonathan.